Hello and welcome to Naval Action. This is VMAQ2.x. It's May 1st. It's about 3:15 in the afternoon. There are 1,037 people online, 188 battles. There was a patch today. Let's bring that up. Captains. The following changes were applied today, May 1st. Raw resource supply. MPC traders started adjusting increasing deliveries across the Caribbean if a good number of ports at the end of the day has zero stock for that resource. Tutorial Brig MPC adjustment. The combat performance of the Tutorial Brig MPC has been further slightly reduced to improve accessibility of the destruction exam. Apparently that was too hard, so thanks for that fix. Now the resource supply, I was online this morning before the patch, and there are orders stacked up in most of the stores where I get my resources. So I'll be interested to see how fast this fix, or how it affects those backed up orders. Is it going to clear them out faster? Get the price down? We'll see. I'll keep an eye on it and report back. Now, I also want to address a question I had from a viewer. Shout out Old Games, Old Guy. Can you explain cannon convergence? I have read a few explanations, but I would like to hear your take on it. Thanks again for all your help. And there was a follow-on question from another viewer, Rusty Walker, shout out, including how to amend those for greater distances, please. Okay. Cannon convergence. What is cannon convergence? I'll give a very, very bare bones based definition. Or the purpose is to focus firepower and maximize the damage inflicted on a target by ensuring all shots hit the target at the same time. So cannon convergence is getting everything to hit the target. Accuracy. Well, there are numerous soft stats in the game that affect that. Namely, the main one being cannon dispersion. The devs have soft stats for all the cannons and how they'll fire and how the rounds will go out. And then you can affect that soft stat by what you choose in your perks, your modules that you load on the ship, here, or the books that you put on the ship. And in some instances, the ship build trim will also affect that. You know, those are the things that you can affect as the player to your ship. What modules you put on, what perks you select, and the build trim. Now, things you can't really affect and what you got to compensate for are the waves, the wind, your turning, his turning, that kind of thing. Those are kind of like snap decisions that you make in the game and you try to adjust for with your key selections in the game, in the battle instance. And I'll try to demonstrate that here in a clip coming up. Okay, let's talk about perks. There are several perks that can affect your gunnery. These gunnery perks, they all have an effect on your vertical, horizontal dispersion, which is your cannon accuracy, and your reload time. Gunpowder affects your penetration and cannon reload time. Go all the way to the bottom here. Sniper, cannon penetration, and it gives your cannon more traverse down, which is helpful if you're in a ship that has a lot of roll to it, like a Trincomalee or even the basic brig. You know, those ships are highly affected by the wind to where the side raises up. More cannon down is good for a ship like that. Brawler affects carronade dispersion, makes your carronades more accurate, and it gives your cannons more side traverse, get more range left and right. So the perks you load on your ship, or that you select before you go into battle, it's important. If you're someone who wants to have a nice, high accuracy, high damage dealing ship through gunfire, select the right perks. And we're also going to talk about the modules that you can put on your ship too. The ones you put in these blocks here. Now, how do you get modules? Well, you can buy them in the stores. People are selling them. Books will eventually be for sale in the stores too. Or you're going to be capturing them off, you're going to be looting them off the ships that you sink. So you go out, you sink a ship, you're going to get module drops, and you're going to get book drops, and eventually you will get the ones that will affect gunnery. And we'll go to the net fliffy map to talk about that. Okay, here's the list of modules. We're on the, hold on here. We're on the net fliffy map. Let's go to the title page. You go up here to this button here, you click this. You want to look at modules. There are permanent modules for gunnery, bow figure. Can affect, depending on which figure you have, can affect penetration, reload, and dispersion. Carriages, gun tackles, modules. Affects your cannon traverse, depending on the levels. Crew gunnery, gunners. Affect cannon reload time. Crew repairs affect cannon reload time. Sights affect your accuracy, your dispersion. Makes it better. So those are some of the modules you can put on, the permanent ones. Ship knowledge. Oh, gunnery, you want to look at, these are the various books and what they affect. So cannon damage, cannon crew, penetration, dispersion. The gunnery encyclopedia has all of it. See, these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books combined to make the gunnery encyclopedia, which has the benefits of all these 5 books in one. So that's why you want a gunnery encyclopedia. You want to find these 5 and then make this one so you have the benefits all in one. Ship trims. Now the trim is a combination of, this list is a combination of build fits, modules that you can load on your ship, like refit modules, and perks. And while it's a good list, it shows you all the various aspects. It doesn't tell you which is which. Like a Barbary refit is a module you would load on your ship, a permanent module. Whereas Agile is a build trim. So like when you roll the dice and craft that ship, you might get Agile as one of the trim builds. It would be nice if this list was amended to list which was which, break it up into maybe 3 different screens instead of one, like one for modules that you would put on the ship, one for trims that come when you craft the ship, and one for perks. Because right now they're all thrown into the same list, and it could be confusing what's what. So like Master Survival, that's a perk. Merchant, perk. Mortar Officer, perk. Nassau Refit, that's a module that you can load into one of your module slots on your ship. So this list is a little confusing, like very fast. That's a build trim. When you craft your ship, it's like, kind of like an RNG thing where you may or may not get those things, like very fast, very sturdy, very agile. and what they affect. But several of these affect your cannon accuracy, which is your dispersion, and cannon reload. So take the time, come here, look through this. And as you're collecting these, when you're going out and sinking ships and you're getting books off them and you're getting permanent modules, you can come here, you can see what that module affects on your ship. And if you're somebody who wants to have nice, sharp, focused fire, you want to take the ones that affect your dispersion and reload and make that. See, basic gunnery, this is a perk you can choose. Barbary refit is a module that you can load on your ship. Take your time, familiarize yourself with this, and then when you're out collecting modules, or when you're selecting your perks, or when you're crafting your ships, you'll eventually get one where you can make the super sniper battleship, Okay, here we are, post-battle. Let's see what we got first. Got some stay sail refit, small, cannonballs, powder, and gold. It was a Prince, green, agile, fur. Okay, I want to discuss convergence. Now the R and the V key do separate things, but they work together. So the V key, you have 3 selections: firing from the bow, firing from the stern, and firing random. Now I think the random one is dumb. It should be something like fire as you bear. As the guns bear on the target, they should fire. That's what I think it should be. But hey, the devs, they had to give a third choice, so they chose random. Now the R key affects your shot convergence. So let's zoom in here. You see the white outline on the waves there? The red line is my aim point. So as I traverse the guns, you can see the white outline moves. That's the guns moving left and right. Now when you move this and it gets settled, you need to give it another moment or two, and that will get the guns more accurate. And like you set your elevation with the red. All right? But which R key do you want to use? I generally use convergence water. This is like for your far away shots. So like out to infinity. It works at all ranges. There are other selections. There's 100 meters. See, the white only goes out 100 meters from the ship. That's as far as it reaches. So that's when you're close in. There's 250 meters, and that about reaches the ship. So I could have used 250 meters there. And then the next choice is parallel. Now what parallel is the guns are just going to shoot kind of like straight out. So let me demonstrate. I'm going to fire the guns. They kind of just went straight out from the ship. They weren't focused in. Now if I select, first of all, let me get back on bow. And if I select water, you see the target, it narrowed down the target. Let's do that again. Okay, there's parallel, it's wider. Now when I click R to water, it's going to narrow down. See how it narrows down? So now the shots should be grouped tighter when I shoot them. Let's let it get reloaded here. It was more focused that time. That's what you want, more focused. So why would you use parallel? Parallel, I found, is useful like when the other ship is heading your opposite direction of the ship and you're going to pass close by at a fast speed. If you shoot parallel, your guns should all hit that ship pretty much in the same spot as you pass it, because the guns are firing from the bow, and as the ship is going by, it's going to hit that same spot as each gun, or close to the same spot. So that's what I find parallel useful for. It's good for close-in rakes, although I'd rather prefer, if I was going to be close in, see how 100 meters narrows down? And then if I lift up, your focus is only 100 meters out from the ship. It's not going to be terribly accurate. At past 100 meters, the shots are going to scatter all over the sky or the water. At 250 meters, now it's focused more where that ship is actually sitting. Okay? So if I fire here, they should be a nice tight group there. So let's do that. Aim between the masts. See, that was a fairly tight group at a set distance. So that was nice. Now if I go to parallel, you see it widens out. They're going to be a more spread out shot, but you can shoot that all the way into distance. So like if you got a line of warships, several hundred yards away, you could use parallel, or you could use water, which tightens the parallel group down to one ship in that line of enemy ships, So parallel and water are for your long distance shooting. 100 meters is for your close in shooting. And 250 is for your intermediate shooting. Now I just generally play with it on water and leave it. I'm comfortable with that. Water works at all distances. It's not the best, but it is effective. It's a good all-rounder. Whereas, 100 meters, after 100 meters, your shots are going everywhere. After 250 meters, your shots are going everywhere. And then those are for your far-away shots. I find that it's important to once you stop moving your cannons, see how the cannons are moving? The target V is moving. Now it stopped. Once it stops, give it another couple moments so that it can focus down more, and you'll have a more accurate shot. Let's move the target indicator over here. See how the guns are traversing? And then once they stop traversing, it's going to focus down. It's going to narrow down. Stop moving. Now it's going to focus down. Now the red line is also your elevation. You can shoot up this high, you can shoot down this low, and the guns will adjust as best they can. But you always want to give them time once they adjust to focus in. See how they continue to tighten down? Now they're going to tighten down. Move, stop, tighten down. I'm going to move them over here. This is why you want modules that improve your transverse range and speed, because your guns will aim faster and more accurately. And anything that fixes dispersion, in my opinion, is good because it makes the guns more accurate. Now, when I fire, try to watch the cannonballs and see how they kind of like, they're going to go every which way. See, that was pretty focused, but you did see variations. Now, if I had a module or a perk on here that narrowed my dispersion down, you would see them more tightly grouped, better accuracy. Now, a ship like the Renome is also difficult because it's a long ship. See how long it is? You got this one deck of guns, and those guns are kind of like on a curve. So if you're like in the midst of battle, what I find sometimes is I need to, like, if I'm shooting to my right and the guy's off in the distance, I might need to turn left so that the rear guns can like swing onto the target a little bit more. So as the guns are firing from the bow, about midway, I might start a turn to kind of bring the stern guns on, because they may not have enough convergence to hit the target. So to help it along, I might turn the ship. So that just takes practice and getting used to the ship, which is why I recommend that every ship that you are lucky enough to get in this game, take the time to unbox the knowledge slots that will make you familiar with how the ship handles and fires. And then later on, when you encounter these ships and fight against them, you will kind of like know their little tricks, because you will have already learnt them. So take the time, enjoy these ships, learn these ships, and then in the future, you can use that knowledge you learn to kill these ships. So, like I said, the Renome is a beautiful ship, but it's a long ship compared to a Snow. You know, the Snow is probably maybe 2/3 to half the length of one of these. So all the guns are in a nice tight little box, and they focus easier. On a ship like this, the guns are more spread out from your central aiming point. And as you move the cannons, you got to give them time to get where they're going to go. And then once it stops moving, there's a moment or two where it's just going to focus down some more. The more time you give them to aim, the better your shots will be. I mean, I know this is difficult because in battle, it's a whole different situation. But this is stuff you will adapt to and learn on your various ships as you sail them. So I hope this demonstrates what those keys can do. Now, as far as the V key, I generally always fire from the bow. The only time I fire from the stern is if I'm backing up, like when you're turning through the wind and you got to like back up and bring your nose around, and sometimes he's off to your side. And as he's coming in view from your stern, so you want to fire from the stern first, not the bow, because the shots that launch from the bow are going to miss him, and by the time the stern shots get on him, maybe they're going to miss him a little bit too. So you always want to fire from the side that's approaching the enemy ship first, so most of your shots are going to come from your bow, but when you're backing up and turning around, you might need to fire from the stern. I never ever use random unless I misclick the key. I don't understand why that's in the game. If I had my druthers, this would be fire as you bear, and as each cannon came on target, it would fire during, like, in a turn or something. I think that would be a cool feature, but hey, I'm not a developer. So, convergence. I mostly just keep these two choices, water and firing from the bow. Water works for all ranges, close and far away. close and far away. Water works. 100 meters, it's only going to be effective out to 100 meters. Once past that point, the shots are going to scatter to the wind. 250 meters is a good mid-range one, but I just generally use water. And then parallel, I don't think I hardly ever use that. The only time I might use that is when I'm passing the ship going the opposite direction at a fast speed. I'll use parallel fire from the bow, and then the shots should all just tattoo him as he's going by in the same spot, if it all works out right. So, oh, it, you can only stay post-battle so long, and then the game kicks you to the open world. So here I am back in the open world in the lovely Renome. But see this long deck? This can make it awkward to shoot at times. This long deck. A nice, this thing could be like maybe this much shorter and it would be better if you had like a double deck of guns. And you got, two cannons on the top here. And having that few of guns, what that kind of does is that gives you, for me, it's a little bit of a negative. It's nice to have the 4 guns, but they kind of throw your aim off because generally with the 1-deck ship, your main gun is always the first bow gun, so you get used to that. But when you have an upper deck of a lighter caliber gun, the main aim point starts from there then. And so that can be a little awkward to get used to. But again, these are all things that you must learn about each ship as you have the opportunity to sail them around. Now, where are we going here? I'm going to go back to port, and I'll see you then. All right, here we are back in port. I hope these clips have kind of helped you on this. The first thing you can do to help yourself is choose the right perks for yourself, and then to choose the right modules and books for your ship. And if you don't have any of those right now, that's fine. You're going to get them eventually. You sink enough ships, you're going to get books. You sink enough ships, you're going to get enough modules. It's just a matter of time. Don't be in a rush. Don't go to the store and pay hundreds and hundreds of thousands of reals for a book that you can just as easily, I bet you as soon as you spend all that money, the very next ship you sink will have that book, and you'll be like, curses, So you'll get the books. They will drop eventually. I'm sure the devs will adjust the drop rate here in the future, and more books will come. Just like they're fixing the drop rate in the resource ports. So, now what I didn't really cover in that battle clip is the ship was stationary. Okay? Now, in the battle, there's all kind of dynamic features affecting your aim on the ship. The wind pushes the ship over in a heel. You're sailing over waves, so your guns are going up and down, and then the ship is leaning because of the wind and rocking because of the waves, and you're turning and he's turning, and it's all happening at the moment. It seems like it's all happening too fast, but experience will, as you gain more experience, it will slow down and you'll be able to adjust to the situation just fine. It'll be good, so in the battle, it's just in the actual instance of the battle, it's just a matter of practice and repetition, and you can try things to affect your fire. Now, one thing that I like to do on ships that roll a lot is depower before I shoot. You hit the T key, your stay sails go down, and your ship will kind of like level out and settle down and still go forward. It's going to slow down, but It will level out, and it will let your guns kind of be steady for a few moments. Steadier, not steady, steady, but steadier than they were when you're rolling over to the side because the wind's pushing against all your sails. So I love to depower. Now, in a way, that's good when you're fighting AI. When you're fighting a PvP, like a person, they're going to see you drop your stay sails, and they're going to know that you're going to shoot. They're going to see your stay sails go down. Oh, he's fixing to shoot. So they might turn into you. They might angle so that your shots bounce. So, there are negatives to that tactic. But some ships you have to depower to fire. Like the Trincomalee is a very ship that likes to lean over. The wind affects it heavily in the roll. And I think the La Grosse Venture has the same problem. And from what I've seen on the Rotterdam, that's another ship that is awfully affected by the wind in the heel factor. Rolling left and right effect from the wind. So sometimes you almost have to depower to shoot. So if you have to, you have to. But if you want to have a nice, steadier gun platform, depower. Hit that T key, shoot your shot. Once the last shot's fired off, you can hit the T key again, power up, and get moving and maneuver. Because I'm sure he's going to be, at that point, either shooting back or making a counter move that you need to get your speed up for. So I hope this helps with your question. Now, the other question had dealt with was, the add-on question was, how to amend those for greater distances, please. Well, like I said, using parallel and water on the R key, that's your long distance aiming. Don't use 100 or 250 to aim long distances. It will not be effective. The other thing you can do to affect your long range shooting is, again, perks. Gunpowder. Cannon reload, cannon penetration. That's probably not going to help that much. But where I'm going with my thought on this is, if you want your shots to travel farther with more power, you want that perk because it affects your penetration. You can also fire charge. Now, charge is going to burn your gunpowder twice as fast. But what that does is that gives your shot more penetrating power and a further distance of effectiveness for that penetrating power. So, but you're going to burn gunpowder at a tremendous rate using charge. So, I guess that's really all I can say for long distance shooting. The other thing is, like, when you're shooting long distances, take the extra time and let your white V zone focus all the way down and stop moving, and give it as much time to aim as you can possibly make yourself hold for, and that will always group your shots better. So again, the first thing you should do is choose the right perks. Second thing you should do is have your ship equipped the right way with, long guns if you're going to be shooting long distances, and modules and knowledge to affect your shooting in a positive way. Dispersion correction modules are awesome for long distance shooting, because the more dispersion that you've shrunk down and the more you've removed from the situation is better. Less dispersion is better, and that will affect your long range shooting too, is your dispersion. It's like, if you're shooting long range, you'll just see the ball scatter all over the sky, if you don't have any dispersion correction mods on. So, and then the next thing is practice. Get out there, sync AIs, try different methods, kill one from far away, kill one from up close. kill one from rakes from the rear, kill one from rakes from the front, you know. Figure out all the best ways to handle your particular fighting ship that you're sailing at that time. Every ship is different. Every ship has its own niche in the game, and you are not doing yourself a service if you just are in a hurry rush to get to the Duke of Kent. That is not the game, okay? The top of the line ship is not the game. Enjoy all of the various levels that this game lets you enjoy. Enjoy the littles in the shallows. Enjoy the frigates. Okay, enjoy the third rates. The third rates are awesome all around. You know, they can hunt. You know, they're good ganker ships. They're good anti-ganker ships. Your third and your fourth rates. Your second and your first, you know, those are the thumpers in the game. Those are the ones that you take to the port battles. You know, you're not going to cruise the open sea in a first rate by yourself looking for dudes to fight, because you might end up meeting 4 or 5 dudes, and then you're going to lose your ship. So, cannon dispersion. Find those mods, put them on your ship, use those perks, and your cannon convergence will get tighter, more accurate, and practice, practice, practice. Look at that sunrise. How can you not love this game? Thanks for watching.